And that was not really a magical lap by any means, but here we are for the dreaded, the most hated track for me, Azerbaijan, Baku. Yes, and for very good reasons. In the past games, not really a track that I gelled with, but I think in this game it's starting to, get a bit better as well. Probably due to the brakes as well, this and that, but we'll talk about that in some other day. How you can use the equipment, configuring equipment correctly can also help you to find that extra lap time here and there. But anyway, let's get back into the garage and talk about setup. So Azerbaijan, excuse me, still coughing. Azerbaijan, you're gonna be wanting as much top speed as possible for the pit straight, mainly, out of that last real corner, and then flat out kings, and then it's all the way down that pit straight, all the top speed that you can, so that you make your life easy to overtake, and then you also regenerate more ERS with lower downforce. But also, given that this track has a lot of slow speed corners, you'll need to carry a lot of downforce for those corners as well. You gain a lot more time here in the corners than you actually may lose on the straight when you have a little bit higher downforce here. So saying that, let's get into the setup real quickly and discuss what you can do, what you should not do, and what you potentially could do to make things better. Now I'm starting off with a 20. I started off with a 20-20 wing setup here, and then just played around with that. And then the last time I think it was on ranked, and then I tried it out. 22 was where I really liked it. So 22 front arrow, 20 rear arrow seems to be just nice for me. I also tried 18-20. It is okay to use in a shorter race period, so like 25%, maybe 35%, it felt okay, but any higher than that I didn't really feel comfortable, so I went with just a little bit higher downforce. And you can even go higher by 2 clicks or so if you really need to, maybe even 1 click if you feel like 1 click is necessary. It makes a lot of difference when you put down the power, and the car is able to handle a lot more acceleration with higher downforce. So start off with something like this. Now if you feel the front of your car is turning in too quickly, you can either reduce your front wing, or you can adjust the suspension. We'll come to that later. And if you want more pointiness initially on entry, provided your braking and everything is alright, you want the car to be just a little bit more pointy, you can increase your front wing. That's the usual you want to go with. And 20 on the rear wing I think is just beautiful around here. You get good top speed, you also get good cornering speed and acceleration out of the slow corners especially. That's the most important thing. And no wheel spin, that's the biggest pain of Baku, because the tire wear on the rear, it's pretty much almost or more than double than what you get on the fronts. So you want to be looking to protect your rear tires in this setup. You may have to sacrifice a little bit in the qualifying, but in the race condition your car is going to be superior to others with more rear traction and all that. Speaking of that, we come to the on throttle. You want it to be on 55 in this track. Some tracks I definitely have recommended going 50 in qualifying. Some parts of the corners you can go 50, but here, given that it's all slow corners, you want a little bit of acceleration as well, and there's a lot of straight line acceleration. So 55 in qualifying is just nice. And then in the race I used 60 because, well, you're going a lot slower, you're heavier, and you have tire wear kicking in all the time. So 60 prevents you from oversteering when you are accelerating, right? So less rotation under acceleration basically. You go lower, it's going to generate a lot more rotation on acceleration, but it is prone to spinning out a lot more as well. Off throttle I kept it at 53 because, well, no matter how much brake bias you put it forward, the car still may lock up a little bit here and there, just that little handbrake effect that you get if you're not using ABS. So this is just to counteract that a little bit, and also helps with the stability when you're entering into some corners here. Now in qualifying it may not matter, you can run 50 as a matter of fact, but still the locking up, or the rear locking up, is going to be an issue in the race because the rear tire wear is quite high and you lose a lot of grip quite quickly. So 53, 54, even 55 might be good for the race condition here. And then if you get a little bit of understeer in the setup, you can always adjust it by increasing the front wing. Now let's move on to the suspension geometry. The usual minimum camber, right, and then left for the toe, so minimum toe as well. this is the one track where I definitely feel having a little bit of rear toe in for the race is going to be beneficial, because it helps to stop the rear from sliding too much, especially in the race condition. In qualifying it doesn't matter, because you're going to go for one lap and then you're going to dump the tires anyway. So 2-3 clicks is just nice, but be cautious with this. You don't want to go too high, otherwise you really start to lose a lot of rotation in the car, so that's pretty much nullifying the entire setup. What you can do is, if you feel like you want the rear to be very stable, you can go like maybe 0.5, 0.4, and then you can increase the front wing by 1 or 2, or you can even make adjustments to the suspension geometry. So it's all about making the fine-tuning here and there to make sure if you are adding understeer somewhere, you add back oversteer somewhere else, you know, to make the car balance. So in this case, if you want the rear to be balanced, rear to be stable, and you can adjust the front to be softer, so you can go soft on the front suspension, maybe you can go down 1-2 clicks, or you can go stiffer on the rear suspension, but you know, that's beside the point. You can even increase your front anti-roll bar, or you can increase your front ride height to make the front a lot more stable, or you can reduce it, but in this case we are already on reduced ride height. So well, explanation for this, there are a lot of slow corners. You want the car to be sort of almost like drifting into the corner, but not say drifting. You want the front to be very nimble. You know, when you turn the wheel or you turn your stick, the steering stick, you feel the car is very light on the front. That's because your front suspension is a little bit soft, so that, you know, it glides into the corner effortlessly, and then you can, you know, manage it from there on. Rear suspension, I've put it at 1. Any higher than that, actually, you know, it still works. Up to 5, I think it was okay for me, but I didn't like how the car felt when it started to lose tire wear, right? So between 1 to 5, I think is just what you want to be using. And then if you go higher, you may feel the rear starts to slide a lot more. You can reduce the front suspension, or you can reduce the front wing, or you can add 1 click of rear wing to counteract the oversteer that you get from this. Otherwise, leave it at 1. Front ARB at 1 is just to make the car a lot more compliant when you are entering corners. It may not be the pointiest, like it's not so reactive when you turn it into a corner, but on the exit also it's a little bit smooth, you know, so allows the car to rotate mid corner, since there are a lot of tight corners here. Rear anti-roll bar at 1, because you don't want the rear to be any more oversteery as it is. Front ride height at 30. There's also variations, like you can 32, 38, 32, 37. It's also going to work. I've just gone for 30 on the front because I didn't find any difference between these 3 settings. When I adjusted the front suspension and front wing, I pretty much got the same lap time range. So plus minus maybe half a tenth or 1/10 at best. Even the lap that I did is not exactly perfect, but you know, there's probably still maybe a 39.9 at best, I think, on a perfect lap there. And there you go. So 30. On the rear, you can run 36 or 35, but be careful because you're already on minimum rear suspension. You don't want the rear to bottom out even more, so that's why you want to run maybe 35, 36. It basically, you know, gives you the same amount of rotation without the side effects of very stiff suspension. Now if you go, let's say, you know, for example, something stiff on the rear and then something low on the rear ride height, it also gives you, you know, the same feeling, the same amount of rotation, but you will definitely feel like on acceleration the rear wants to slide a bit more. But the good side is this may help you a little bit on top speed here, but not much, I feel. So play around with it, see what really suits you. Stiff suspension with higher ride height, or stiff suspension with lower ride height, or soft suspension with higher ride height. Those are usually the ways you want to go. Otherwise, you know, just keep it as it is and you'll be fine. If you feel again the car is quite snappy, you know, you can increase the ride height by 1 or 2 and it will be perfectly fine. There aren't many curbs that you want to be taking around here, except the one at turn 7. You have to cut the inside, but other than that, it's already very low curbs and you're not really going fully over it. Brakes, 100% brake pressure, and in qualifying you can use 55 to 56 in all corners. In the race you use 56, 57. At some point you will probably even go up to 58 when the rears are really struggling with tire wear, and it's just going to help you preserve the rears a bit more. Whoops, excuse me. And there we go. And tire pressures, you can start off with minimum tire pressures, but around here, because the corners are really slow, you don't really generate a lot of temperature, so you need some amount of temperature in order to keep the grip in the car, and also a little bit of stability as you are entering and exiting these corners. So I've gone with 5 clicks on the rear and 8 clicks on the front. It's just perfectly fine with the softest tire allocation around here. If you are overheating, you can always just reduce all by 2 clicks or 3 clicks together, so you maintain the same amount of the car balance in your car, right? If you lower the front pressures, you're gonna feel the car is more pointy or oversteery. If you reduce the rears, it's gonna make the car feel a lot more understeery, or stabilize the car if that's what you need. So there you go. That is the setup. 22-20 wings, 55-53 on the transmission, right, left geometry, 31-1 on the suspension, 1-1 roll bars, and then 30-36 ride height, 156 brakes, 55 for Quali is also usable, 56-57 for the race, and then tire pressures 8 clicks front, 5 clicks rear. There you go. And that is set up around Baku City Circuit. We are done with this, and that's gonna be 3 more circuits left after this. Excuse me. It's gonna be Imola, Abu Dhabi, and Portimao. By the end of this week, 16th, it's all gonna be up, and then we're gonna go for a long break, and I'll see you in the next year probably. So we are done with this. Now let's go to the track guide for those of you who have stayed till this far, or if you're skipping to this part, well, let's go to the track guide right now. Okay, and also let's start our best lap here and see. So well, it's gonna be pretty quick, I hope, because it's gonna be repetitive around here. You want to be taking slow in, fast out, prioritize exits, because it's a lot of slow corners, and the corners don't really lead from one to another where you can take an early apex. So you want to be taking slow, brake enough, take the corners with good amount of minimum speed, and exit with a high amount of speed as well. So let's start here. Now you'll probably be getting the best exit that you want from the previous 2 corners, right? Like from the last rail corner on the track, and then it's gonna be flat out. Keep your car as straight as possible, bring it over to the right hand side for the start of the lap, and then I like to use this 100-meter board as my braking reference in qualifying and in race. This year you can't mount the curb anymore, but if there's some silly esports lines or silly esports setups that can do it, then you have it, go for it, right? But generally it's safer not to mount the curb, because sometimes it can bottom out on the car, and you can go straight without even making any effort on braking. Now there's also a secondary reference, this orange travel board here. That's the secondary reference I have. It's a little bit easier for me to spot from far off, and then the black box and the 100-meter board are also a good reference here. Brake in a straight line down to 4th gear, and then you can even downshift to 3rd for the entry into the corner, and you want to be really tight on the entry here. As you can see, we are just slightly touching the curb. That's okay. You can even miss the entire curb, but you want to stay as close as possible to the white line so that you maintain a good momentum throughout the corner. And then on the exit, I'm riding quite a bit of the curb. It's a qualifying special only I'm gonna do it, but in the race it's a little bit sketchy to ride the curb, because you don't really get the grip sometimes. So you can ride it a little bit, but ideally you want to be probably a few inches to the left here. Now if you do ride it, make sure your steering is straight, you get the line correct, you're going to be gaining quite a bit of time here. Into turn number 2, right after this orange mark here in the race or in qualifying, you see that no parking symbol, that that X thingy in the pedestrian part, or as the exit road ends, that's where you want to be braking. Don't brake at 50 is too late already. And then you can pretty much line up your car as much to the right as possible here, maximize the space on entry, and then down to 3rd gear, sometimes even 2nd, just to get the nose turned in into the corner. We did miss it a little bit here. You can see the car is a little bit sluggish running wide, but that's That's the entire purpose of having a setup for the race, right? It's probably going to be a little bit understeery for the qualifying, but you can work around with it with the brake bias and all. So make sure the car is turned in and start accelerating as soon as you get to the apex. Straighten out the car as quick as possible. Use the entire exit here and then straighten out the car. DRS open here, and then it's a long run down to turn number 4. Is it turn number 3? Turn number 3, yes, where a lot of incidents do happen in the game and in real life. You want to be braking right at the 100-meter board for qualifying, and then just before that, maybe right around 120, between 150 and 100 for the race. Just because there's less grip and probably different tire compounds as well, heavier car, so you can brake a little bit earlier. And then down to third gear for the corner entry here, you want to be very tight on the entry as well. Again, we are, as you can see from the onboard, the car is a little bit lazy. Maybe my inputs are a bit sluggish, but it's safer to avoid the entire inside, right? Otherwise you risk hitting the wall. On the exit, let the car run wide again. Use the entire exit. As you can see, we are pretty much scraping the wall here. Straighten out the car. You have to do this on every corner. You have to straighten out the steering as soon as possible and put down the power as soon as possible. If that doesn't happen, then it's probably something to do with your inputs. Maybe you're braking too late into the corner, or maybe you are having a very loose setup that you need a little bit of stability in there. So figure that out and then make the changes. Now here for the next turning to the right hand side, turn 5, this turn 4 actually, it's hidden under the bushes here. So Codemasters, good job, well done, way to go. And or you can even just look at the liqui moly board on the top right. As you're just about to hit that, that's where you can brake, and then down to third gear. In the race, you may even want to go to second sometimes, but on the exit, upshift to third again, and then again use the entire exit, straighten out the car, and then quickly bring back the car over to the right hand side. You want to be braking right between the 100 and 50, so around 70 to 80 meters depending on how you want to brake, right? I brake right at this divider here that I see on the right hand side. There's little this divider here, right? There's a gap between these two white walls, so right around there, right after the 100, right before the 50, brake in a straight line. Use the entire curb that you entire exit road that you have here within the track limits, down to third gear, and then maybe even second for the corner apex here. Very tight on the entry. As you can see, we are almost hitting the wall here, but you want to be tight so that you can open up the exit here. So let's look it back from onboard here. Tight on the entry, and then flick the car into the right. And yeah, in qualifying, I feel it's a little bit understeer here. You're seeing the car running wide here, but ideally you want to avoid the exit curb because it tends to unsettle the car a little bit and affects your acceleration. But regardless, bring your car to the left hand side, keep it to the left, as far left as you can. I keep it a little bit to the right because there is a right turning after this anyway, right? So I don't want to be too tight to the left either. Naturally the track is going to widen a little bit, so I brake right after the orange marker here on the right, or just at the 50-meter mark. Brake down to third gear, and then second gear for the corner. Take as much curb as you can. Now this curb, regardless of whatever ride height you have on the front, 30, 35 or whatever, it's probably going to be the same. So you're really going at a slow speed, it's not going to really affect you. It's more of to gain time on entry and gain time on exit. So very tight on the entry, as tight as you can. You can even be tighter here. I didn't really go as tight as I could to the this black marker here on the right, but regardless, carry the speed. Second gear, third gear, upshift. In the race, you maybe want to upshift to fourth, flat here, and then up to fourth, up to fifth maybe if you're in the race, and then for the next part here, turn 8, probably where you could end your race or end your qualifying run. So after the blackboard, that's where you want to be braking. In qualifying, you can actually brake at 50 down to third gear, and then you really want to throw the car into the corner here and flirt with the track limits. So Let's take a look at that. You know, it can go very wrong very quickly, but if you want to be safer, you'll probably lose a tenth or two, but it's going to guarantee you do not lose a wing at all. So there you go, it's almost, I don't know if it's even touching the wall, it's glitching with the wall, I don't know. And then bring the car to the left hand side, tight again, as you can see, as far left as you can, and then that will help you to open up the right hand side. Again, you want to be tight on the right here, as tight as you can. We are, I don't know, almost glitching into the wall here, so that you can open up the next left hander. So all the corner entry speed that you carry from turn 8, it's gonna convert into these next two corners here. And then up to 4th on the exit, the track, the curb on the exit has been removed like in real life, so you can let the car run wide here. And then the track limit is, you know, this white line here, the one on my middle of my car here right now, right, this one. So follow this white line. You can see we are just, you know, using all the space that we can, almost all of it. And then accelerate in a straight line. For the corner apex, just hug the left, and then here as well, hug the left, and then bring the car over to the right hand side. You want to brake right as the curb starts in the race, and maybe in qualifying right after that, so around the 75-meter mark before the curb ends. That's where you probably want to be braking. If you are daring, you can brake at the curb end around here, but you have to be really precise with your steering and braking as well. And carry a lot of speed into the corner, down to 3rd gear, and then start accelerating a little bit. And on the exit, you want to be as close as you can to the exit to gain time. Up to 4th gear, down to up to 5th, and then 6th. You don't need to go to 7th here because you're just going to waste your time with extra shifting. And then around 75 meters where you want to be braking. And this curve on the right hand side has been shortened this year, so that's a good thing. You can use that as a reference when to turn, and then brake down to 3rd gear. Right as you hit the curb, that's about to hit the curb, that's where you want to be turning. If you touch the curb just even a little bit, it sometimes understeers the car, sometimes oversteers the car, so try to avoid that, but use that as a reference here. And you can see here we are just about missing it. So you want to avoid clipping this curb here because, you know, that actually unsettles the car and ruins your momentum for the exit. You definitely lost probably a good 10th because of that, running down to the straight. But, you know, just a little bit in qualifying doesn't matter. In the race as well doesn't matter. If you're following someone, you get DRS anyway. On the exit, you want to use as much curb as possible without going over it. So you want to ride it, but don't want to ride it with the floor. You can ride it with your right side tires. Okay, and then up to 4th gear on the exit, and then accelerate, stay tight to the right, and then smooth steering, right? You don't want to scrub your speed too much, just smoothly turn into the left and into the right. Let the car run wide on the exit, just, you know, preserve a momentum. Stay tight to the right hand side, but, you know, don't be too tight, you know, don't turn too much. As long as you're going straight, it's okay. And then the run down to the finish line, you can stay to the left or stay to the right. It's about the same. As long as you're keeping your car straight, it's going to be the shortest line to the line. And then that's a lap around Baku City Circuit. And make sure you don't overshoot the corner in turn 1 like Hamilton did in 2021. Regardless of whatever happens in turn 1, that is a track guide and setup around Azerbaijan. And well, I'll be seeing you real soon for the next one, which is going to be at Imola. Not so dreaded as Baku, but a lot of fun there. A lot of curbs, a lot of high-speed corners, so a different kind of circuit we'll go to. So see you, take care everyone, stay safe, and goodbye.